Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
We are back with episode 377 of the Online Success Journey. Our guest today is a successful entrepreneur who's excited to share the various steps they took to build their business. And you'll want to subscribe right now and ensure you never miss a journey like this one. Today we have Felicia Searcy, a four-time award-winning transformational coach, international speaker, author, and a minister who has helped thousands create a path for living their dream life for more than 20 years. Hello, Felicia.
Hey, Patience. It's so great to be here.
Thank you for coming. My audience are excited to hear your story. Just start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today that will help us on our journey to success.
One of the things that I want to help you understand is just how powerful you really are and how to unlock the power of your imagination in order to create the thing that you say that you really want.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more about that. Let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background and about your business?
Yeah, so my background, I discovered what I'm sharing here, what many people can call, and I call universal law. It is our capacity to work with an invisible energy and create really anything that we can conceive. And I discovered that information when I was 22 years old at a very low point in my life. And I was in that open place of ripeness, of being available to seeing life differently. And when I began to learn what I now teach, my life took off. I mean, it was just breathtaking, the changes in my relationships, my health, working a work that I loved, my ability to grow my income, make a difference. Every area of my life improved. And I noticed that and I thought, okay, if this is happening for me, it can happen for other people. I'm a teacher at heart. It's what I do. And so I decided to then take what I learned and build a business around it in order to be able to support other people in unlocking their power in order to create a life that they love, understanding that this is our highest contribution. It's the way that we make the biggest difference in our world. So my business is helping people understand these laws and how to unlock the power of these laws, how to unlock their power so they can create this life that they love. And I know that your audience and my folks primarily are business owners. So how to answer that heart's calling and really create the business that brings them alive and makes the bigger impact, makes the bigger difference.
Wow, what a background, Felicia. Why do you do what you do?
I'm compelled, Patience. I can't not do what I do. It's such a deep cellular calling to do what I do. You know, it's funny because, yes, I have a business, but I do it no matter where I am. You know, I do a lot of traveling. I'm a speaker, and so I have the honor of speaking pretty much everywhere across North America. And, you know, there have been times I've been in airports where I'm in the security line and I get in conversations with people. And there was one woman in particular in Kansas City who, you know, was sharing that she wasn't thrilled about her job. And I asked her if she could do anything, what would she love? And she wanted to go to medical school. So here we are in the security line. I'm pulling off my pack, you know, putting it on the conveyor belt, going through. And by the time we both went through security, I had her committed to when she was going to take the test to get into medical school. You know, that was on her calendar. So I do it because I can't help it. I have to do it. I'm wired to do this.
Wow. Thank you. Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
Oh, that's such a great question. I know I'm successful when I see the light go on in people's eyes, when I see their lives get better. You know, I was talking with a client yesterday who who is in for another year. And she was talking about, she started with 90 days and she stepped up to a year yesterday, because in 90 days, she felt such an amazing difference in terms of confidence and worthiness. And she saw herself taking big, bold steps that used to scare her before. I know I'm successful when my clients report to me how, one client shared with me how in March she increased her income 4 times over January, knowing that every single penny represents somebody's life who's getting better. Or another client who was struggling with her business, and as she was working her business, also opened herself up to the love of her life, and just shared how she's now moved to Washington with the love of her life. So that's how I know I'm successful, when people's lives are changing and they're sharing with me how much better things are and how much better they feel.
Felicia, lots of people know about the law of attraction. Why do you think they are not able to get it to work constantly?
Your question actually contains the answer, because it's really quite fascinating how people think that they work the law of attraction on and off. We're always working with the law of attraction. So let's do a backup and talk about what is the law of attraction. So we have been given this amazing capacity called our imagination. We have the ability to actually generate images in our imagination. Now, why this is important is because those images actually then activate a feeling tone in our body. They create a physiological sensation. That feeling actually has a vibration to it. You can feel it. When you feel sad or angry or excited or joyful, you're actually feeling a physiological vibration in your system. And that literally gets transmitted out to this field of energy. Quantum physics calls it the quantum field. Spiritual masters have been talking about this throughout the ages. And quantum physics has proven that there's actually waves of unformed energy hanging out what they call superposition. Now, I don't understand this next piece, and I realize I don't have to understand it in order to effectively work with it. Just like I don't understand the ins and outs of electricity, but that doesn't stop me from flipping the switch to get light. And the thing that I don't understand, but I trust it, is that energy, those what we are effectively emitting out to this invisible field, this energy then organizes around our predominant thoughts, what we're imagining, and our feelings. We attract that to us, which is a match for what we fundamentally believe about our world, which is dictating our imagination and our feelings. Think of it this way. When you walk into a room, and there's 2 people that were just fighting. They're no longer engaged in the fight. You walk into the kitchen, and one may be rummaging in the cabinet, and the other one may be rummaging in the refrigerator, but you can feel the tension. In fact, we say, oh my God, you could cut the tension with a knife. What are you feeling? You're feeling their energy. You're feeling their vibration, that you can literally feel the energy of one another. In fact, we have machines that can measure our energy 6 feet out. Doesn't mean it stops there. It just means that we haven't been able to figure out how to measure beyond that. So that energy then is impressing into this invisible field, and it organizes according to our predominant thoughts and feelings. Now, back to your question. Why doesn't it work consistently for people? Because people play with it off and on. See, the thing about it is, if we're not directing our imagination, it's directing us. And our imagination is usually being, led around by the nose by what's happening in our world. You look at our world to determine what you're going to believe and what's in your imagination. It gets led around by your history, what you've done or have not done in the past, or by other people's history. And people will let those things start the movie in their mind. Because it's in their imagination, they believe it, and then they organize their lives around it. When we really believe that we have this power, and we really believe in this thing that's called the law of attraction, which is actually a secondary law, the real law is the law of vibration, you will be so diligent, and this is the thing that I really work on with people, is the art and the science of working with this. You become so diligent about informing your imagination with images that you would love and maintaining that movie. And then the next step of that is to understand that those images are actually inviting you to see more of who you are created to be, and to keep being that person before a single thing in your world changes. So the reason why it doesn't work is that people will see something that they would love for a few minutes here and there, and then they let themselves slide right back into being seduced into believing that the power of the world is stronger than the power of your imagination. And they let that movie run in their imagination. They believe that, and they organize their lives around that. So it requires a rigor to build your trust in the power of your imagination and the power moving through you, and to hold the idea of what you would love in your imagination, and to let it guide who you are and your actions, even before your world confirms it or tells you it's okay to do it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day it suddenly all went right for you.
The magic moment, it suddenly all went right. You know, it's really an interesting phenomenon that people look for the magic moment, right? And one of the things that I help people understand is that the magic moment doesn't happen. It's a building. You know, so have you ever been, I don't know, do they have water parks in the UK? I know it can be a little chilly, but you've got water parks in the UK, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I live in Arizona in the US, and it's really hot here, so we have water parks. So in the water park, there's usually like a big bucket that's way up above, right? And all the kids gather under this bucket to wait for it to flip, and there's this big rush of water that comes out. Well, the thing about it is that the bucket's constantly being filled. So when we talk about a magic moment, the magic moment is actually a culmination of smaller magic moments that are adding up. And if you want to accelerate the process, you want to pay attention to those smaller magic moments. When all of a sudden there's the whoosh, right? You realize that it wasn't just a whoosh, that it added up. And so in answer to your question, and I wanted to give it some context because there really wasn't a magic moment. First of all, I started realizing that I was feeling better, that I wasn't feeling as desperate or so much in despair or fearful or unworthy or doubtful or all of that, that the more I was working with these principles that I'm sharing here, and that these are the things that I work with the folks that I have the honor of working with, the first step that I noticed is that I just started feeling better. I noticed that I started showing up differently. I became willing to make bolder moves. You know, so for example, before I started my business, you know, I was a teacher, then I was a minister. And when I started working with these universal laws, before I started working with these universal laws, you know, I was applying to jobs that I thought I could get, not what I really wanted. And when I started working with these laws, I developed a much greater degree of confidence and boldness, and started applying for jobs that I really wanted. And I was getting those jobs. Made myself available for a healthy relationship when all my relationships had been super unhealthy. It's like, oh my gosh, what if I really could? And I started doing what was called stacking the evidence that this was really working. So there have been times in my life when I turned around and I could see the progression, I could see the culmination of it all and say, wow, this is really something. And I'm grateful that it's not a single magic moment, because it tells me that I can now keep building it, and that it really is a progression. It's not a single event. It really is a continuum. It's a progression that never ends. And so the magic moment for me today is that I'm here getting to do this with you, because I have evidence in my life that this works.
Thank you. What have you learned from business as a whole?
What have I learned from business as a whole? That's a great question. I've learned to dig deep and be really clear as to why I'm doing business. Business requires grit. It requires commitment. I mean, think about it, that, when I was teaching or even as a minister, things were predictable. I had a paycheck coming in. I knew who I was reporting to, although I started the church. And so I was, pretty much reporting to myself, and my board and I worked together. But when I taught, I had a very clear, defined role. I had clear guidelines. I had a principal that I reported to. There was a school board that I reported to. As I started a business, I learned to trust myself. I've learned to trust my own guidance. I've learned to trust, a higher guidance. I've learned to get comfortable without not having all of the answers. And I learned that the answers come as I need them. And what this has done is that it's given me such a degree of freedom of trusting that there really is a power at work in and through each one of us, and that we really do have everything we need in order to fulfill this calling, this desire to serve with a business. I've learned to allow support of other people, to trust that other people can share this vision as I've built out a team. I've learned to trust the continued flow of financial freedom and abundance, and that I wasn't dependent on an outside entity like a school board, but that learned that I could serve in a way that would continue a flow of abundance, and to tap into this stream of intelligence that's always guiding us and always providing us. And I've learned to trust that higher power so much more, because building a business requires you to dig deep. There are days, I don't know about you, patients, but there have been days I've been curled up in the fetal position. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing? I just want to pull the covers over my head and make it all go away. And the calling, the desire to serve has been so much stronger than, this need to make it all go away. And I've learned to trust the desire. I've learned to trust the power of my imagination, the origin of my desire as a divine desire, these universal laws, and my ability to learn what I need to learn, show up in the way that I need to show up, bring the value that I need to bring in order to serve the people that I have the honor of serving, and allow a greater degree of abundance to flow into my life.
Thank you. You talk about the difference between episodic manifestation and true transformation. Can you explain the difference and why is this important?
Yeah, this is great. This is really important because there's a lot of people, your audience, I'm sure, have heard about, quote, the law of attraction. That's, when we're talking about universal law, that's the primary one that people are aware of. So, people, and you said it at the beginning that people, quote, work the law of attraction. They visualize. People do things like sing or dance in order to raise their vibration in order to be a match for what they want. But what they don't do is really ask, how is this desire asking me to change? What is it asking me to discover about myself? So you may manifest the partner, manifest the business, manifest the clients, manifest the money. You see the money coming into your bank account. You see the clientele on your calendar, you see the business coming into your brick and mortar, but you didn't bring yourself along. There's still that part of you that may not trust that it's going to last, or you're looking over your shoulder wondering if it's going to be taken away, or wondering if you really deserve it, or can you really bring the value? And so you may have manifested the thing, but you didn't make the internal change. You didn't change in order for you to really be able to appreciate it and enjoy it. Here's how you know when you're manifesting what I call, doing what I call episodic manifestation. When something manifests, if you feel relief, in that moment, you are saying that you your well-being is dependent on, your freedom is dependent on you changing this condition. True transformation is understanding that your freedom lies in understanding the cause of that change. That's the difference between episodic manifestation and true transformation. You change along the way, so you are truly able to trust and know the freedom in what caused that change, rather than believing that you're okay because the money's in the bank or the clients are on your calendar.
Thank you. What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Deep dive study in universal law. I have sat at the feet of some of the most powerful human potential teachers on the planet. I have been a sponge for the last 40 years, learning everything I could about the power that we've been given, this life force energy, this quantum field, in order to be able to work with it consciously and intentionally. My understanding, our understanding of how we create our results is foundational to everything. So it's investing my time, my energy, my resources, my money, and deepening my ability to work with these laws effectively and intentionally as I've built my business.
What grounds you?
Getting out in nature. I live in Arizona. We live in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. It is breathtakingly beautiful. So like this morning, I did my hike before coming here, and just, being in the energy of the saguaro cactus, the palo verde trees. We saw a coyote. There's evidence of javelinas that knocked the garbage over. I don't know, that's necessarily grounds me, but just putting my feet on earth and tapping into this divine stream, knowing that it runs in and through and all around me. That brings me back to the reality of who I am and what I'm connected to.
In your business, do you have a mentor or a coach yourself?
I always have a coach and a mentor. It's interesting, because I've shared this with my husband and with my clients. As long as I have a business, especially a business where I'm coaching others, I will always have a coach. It's just, number one, I don't ever want to have a dream that I can do on my own. And number two, for me, it's being out of integrity, that if I'm inviting people to work with me for their growing edge, I need to work with somebody for my growing edge. In fact, I work with a couple of different people for a couple of different areas, but I always have a coach and a mentor to help me understand universal law.
Let's talk about your business. Tell us more about it, and how can we join you?
Yeah, so I work primarily in groups. I do some private work for people who really want to do that deep dive into understanding how to achieve their dream. So the work that I do is really help people get in touch with where their discontent is, how to turn that around and get clear around what is it that you would really love. What is your dream asking you to know about yourself? Who is your dream asking you to become? What is it to put that person on, become that person before a single thing in your world changes? How to tap into the stream of divine inspiration to know what your next action steps are. I support you and help you take those action steps boldly as you grow your ability to allow even more abundance to flow into your life. All of us has a limit to how much good we will allow in our lives. And so I help you increase that limit so you allow more good to come to you. So that's it in a nutshell. We do that in some people. Primarily, I do that in a year. Some people will sign on for 90 days to get a momentum going, and many of those folks step into a year and multiple years. I have people that have been with me for 4 or 5 years because things just keep getting better for them, and they don't want it to stop. So the way to work with me is go to my website, FeliciaSearcy.com, and there's a free gift there, and start there. And you can also reach out to info@FeliciaSearcy.com, and we can have a conversation to see where you are and what your needs are and how, and if and how I'm able to support you. I also have a gift that I am happy to share with people. It's Everything Starts in Vision. So this is a full-on vision toolkit, learning the art and the science of visioning, instructions for visioning, a meditation to hear what is it that you would really love, how to write that vision, and then a daily practice on how to take the vision and apply it every day so you can actually see yourself change and see your world change. FeliciaSearcy.com/spiritual success to grab that one.
Thank you.
There will be more from Felicia in a moment. If you're encouraged by Felicia's journey, please go to my website at onlinesuccessjourney.com, where you'll find more amazing free content. Are you struggling to achieve one or more of your major goals? Do things like fear, confusion, and overwhelm get in the way? Then maybe I can help. I work with clients to support them get unstuck and make massive leaps forward to create their dream life. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching and let's chat on Zoom to see if we are the right fit for each other. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching.
Now, Felicia, I would love for you to share more with my audience if you're up for it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Do you watch movies or read books?
Both. I love a good story. So if I have to be careful, if I get into a fiction book, I cannot start it at 7 o'clock at night because I will be up all night reading it. So it's like I make a deal with myself. I put a full day aside for a good fiction book, and I start it at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I know that I've got all day to read it. And then I'm constantly reading informational, inspirational. I read books on how to be more effective as a business owner. I read inspirational books. I read books on how to deepen my understanding of universal law, and I'm listening to my mentors as well. I'm constantly in training for that. And my husband and I will curl up and watch a good movie. I love a good story.
Thank you. Tell us, what is your favorite book that has some relevance to being an entrepreneur?
That's a good one. And I don't know that I can name a favorite book. So I think one that has been the most impactful, there's two of them. One of them is Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Barron. She wrote it back at the turn of the last century, and it's the best explanation of visualizing and the law of attraction I think that I've ever read. And then one of my other favorites is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. He also wrote it at the turn of the last century, the turn of the 20th century. So those are two books that I carry with me everywhere.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
My mind. I'd find somebody to help me understand universal law more deeply in order to be able to allow a greater degree of abundance, to get guidance on who I should be, what is it that I really do want, and how to show up in a way that will open myself up to allow the abundance in.
If you are going to keep a note to yourself in your handbag every day, what would be written on
Oh,
it?
interesting, because I do that, right? And it just depends on what I need to know in the day. But one of the things that I've really been working on more and more and more is knowing that all things are working in my favor. There is a power. I'm connected to a one source that's bigger than any outside fact and condition. And this universal intelligence is working in my favor. All things are working in my favor.
Do you feel like you succeeded? Or like you are only on the way?
It's a combination. It's a both and, right? You know, it's interesting because there was somebody who just joined a program that I'm offering. It's an abbreviated program talking about revolutionizing your relationship with money. And her daughter was in my third grade classroom when I taught third grade. And she's in her 20s or 30s now. And she was sharing with me how her daughter went to college and went on and got her master's degree and is now, taught third grade herself. And it's like, wow, that was successful, that I made an impact with kids. Then when I look at the work that I did with my church, I made an impact with people in the church that I pioneered, teaching these universal laws. I see how I'm making an impact in the lives of my clients as they share with me what's happening for them. So I'm in a 36-year relationship with a man that I love deeply and I really like being around. So I can see all the ways that I've been successful, and I'm 63 in a couple of weeks. I'm not done. There's so much more that life wants for me and through me. So I own my success today, and I'm grateful that life continues to express in bigger and more expansive ways through me and by means of me.
Will you ever stop?
Nah, when they carry me out. And then, even then, I'll probably be trying to get the pallbearer to tell me what it is that he would really love and commit to doing it.
Wow, thank you. Remind us how we can connect with you.
Yeah, so FeliciaSearcy.com, my website, and if you want my free visioning toolkit, it's FeliciaSearcy.com/spiritual success.
Felicia, it's been great to have you here to share your online business with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Remember, success is a journey. Don't wait. Let's start the journey. Patience and Felicia.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest and want you to know that there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast and are only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps us each chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on the favorite platform you have to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at Apple Podcasts and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share the journey. One last thing, if you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out our coaching sessions on how to set goals and double your productivity while you're at the website. Working with Patience is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.